And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Tonight's weather showing a front basically across all of western Alaska here with rain going from the Alaska Peninsula northward all the way up across the western Brooks Range and light amounts out to the western Arctic coast. Much drier as you head eastward here into the central interior with diminishing showers through all this area, but lingering along the North Gulf Coast with that weak front there. And this should spread rain finally into the southern areas as well, some light rain or showers. And for tomorrow, rain moves back into Kodiak Island, stays wet here over the western part of the state with this persistent front and trough farther to the north. Drier day over the central interior, but still some showers around all the way down to the Kenai Peninsula. Light rain, eastern North Gulf Coast, on down the southeast coast with a trough and a weakening low pressure area right off the coastline. Out to the west, another front spreading rain into the central Aleutians. And for the Thursday outlook, that system breaks off and moves to the Fox Islands, some rain there up to about False Pass. Another system moves in with more rain for the western Aleutians. Weak low over the northern Bering Sea, light rain St. Lawrence Island, light rain or showers along a trough over the western interior, as well as up over the central interior with partly mostly sunny skies. To the north of that, all the way to the Arctic coast, this system spreading rain up to all of the North Gulf Coast into the Kenai Peninsula, Prince William Sound, Turnagain Arm, Chugach Mountains, and into the northern panhandle once again. For the coastal water forecast, south coast, south winds 15 knots, east-southeast 15 for the north coast, Lynn Canal, south winds 15 knots, Stevens Passage and Clarence Strait, south winds at 20 knots. And for the day Thursday, south coast, south to southwest winds 15 to 20 knots, south 15 on the central coast, southwest 20 to 25 on the north coast with 6 to 8 foot seas there. South at 10 for Lynn Canal, southeast 10 for Stevens Passage, and south 15 for Clarence Strait. Prince William Sound, northeast at 10 knots tomorrow, seas 2 feet. Eastern North Gulf Coast, light variable winds at 10 knots. Western North Gulf Coast, northeast at 15, east at 20 for Barren Islands, Kamishak Bay. Light variable winds for Cook Inlet with 1 to 2 foot seas. And for Thursday, Cook Inlet, light northeast breeze at 10 knots. East at 15, Kamishak Bay. East winds 20 knots for the Barren Islands and the North Gulf Coast. Northeast at 20 knots for Prince William Sound. Kodiak Island east-northeasterlies at 15 to 20 knots tomorrow, and west-northwest 20 to 25 knots for the Alaska Peninsula, but Bristol Bay southeast at 20 knots with 3 foot seas. Outlook for Thursday, Alaska Peninsula, southeast winds 15 to 25 knots, southeast at 15 for Bristol Bay, and northeasterlies at 20 knots for Kodiak Island with 5 foot seas. Eastern Aleutians, northwest winds 15 to 25 knots, and southeast winds 15 to 20 knots for Adak and Atka. Western Aleutians, south to southwest winds anywhere from 20 to 30 knots with seas running 5 to 9 feet. And for Thursday, Western Aleutians, west to southwest winds at 20 to 30 knots, westerlies at 25 knots for Adak and Atka, and southwest to southeast winds at 20 to 30 knots for the Fox Islands with seas around 3 to 5 feet. Southwest coast here, northwest 15 for the day Wednesday. Norton Sound, St. Lawrence Island, north at 15, northeast winds 15 knots, St. Matthew Island, west 15 for the Pribilofs. And for Thursday, light variable winds for the St. Paul, St. George area, west at 20 for St. Matthew Island, south to southeast 15 knots on the southwest coast, and southeast at 15 for Norton Sound and St. Lawrence Island. Arctic coast tomorrow, brisk wind advisories, east winds 25 knots for the Chukchi Sea, north winds 10 to 15 knots. And for Thursday, lighter winds for the Arctic coast, especially on the central and east side, down to 10 knots out of the east, northeast 15 for the western coast, Chukchi Sea, east to southeast winds at about 15 knots.